Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis. Tonight on Whiskey Business, a baseball promotion that went slightly awry back in June of 1974. Alex Hastie from the podcast Ohio v. the World joins us tonight as we talk about the Cleveland Indians and the Texas Rangers on Whiskey Business. Tripodis, and welcome to Whiskey Business, the podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey. And I'm probably a football fan first and then a baseball fan. I love baseball. I don't pay nearly as much attention to it as some would over the course of a season. I tend to pay a little bit more attention when it gets to where we are now in the playoffs and whatnot, and eventually the World Series. But what I do appreciate about baseball is the fact that it has such a rich history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And tonight, we have the opportunity to talk about some of the ugly. One night in particular, we'll be talking with Alex Hastie from Ohio v. the World, one of the best historical podcasts you're ever going to come across. Alex has been a frequent flyer here on Whiskey Business. It's been a long time since we had him back. We're going to talk about a fateful night in June 4th, actually, of 1974, when the Cleveland Indians were up against the Texas Rangers at Cleveland Municipal Stadium on a promotion that was called 10-cent beer night. What could possibly have gone wrong?
Sounds like a good idea to me.
A lot. So we're thrilled that you're with us tonight, and thrilled to have Alex Hastie back on the podcast, man. Long time no chat, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys.
I mean, we see each other on a fairly regular basis, but as far as the podcast is concerned, not so much. And one cool thing about tonight is that Ohio v. the World and Whiskey Business are both part of the Evergreen Podcast Network.
We are. Yes. We're podcast brothers.
We're podcast brothers. We are crossing over. We are crossing swords, as they say.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
I know, it is. I don't think Alex and I have crossed swords.
I don't know. Maybe a while ago.
Maybe
that bathroom at the Italian Club's a little small.
During a Christmas party, possibly.
Yeah, for sure,
maybe.
for sure.
Yeah, and then we both said we'll never talk of this again. Until now.
When I was talking with Hansberry, this is my fourth appearance. I thought it was my third, but I forgot about when we talked about the state of Michigan.
Yeah, right.
This last time, maybe not the last time I was on, but I totally forgot about that
Might
one.
have been the last one. But he was on like early season one, like maybe we're like less than 10 episodes in.
Right,
7 or 8.
Came on.
Right. And every one of your podcasts has been great. You know, it's and I expect this one to be no less than great as well. But what a great topic, which we'll get into in just a moment. Before we do that, we need to, first of all, thank John Whitney for bringing in our guest model for this evening. His recent trip to Kentucky.
The Party Source.
Yeah. Did you get this from the Party Source?
I got it from the Party Source.
He brought us back a bottle of Widow Jane.
I like it.
Whiskey distilled from a rye mash. This is the American oak-aged whiskey. Kind of a whiskey value. This ranges in price somewhere between $47.99. What'd you pay for it?
I think $52.
$52. Okay, fair enough. This is a
Kentucky price.
This is have you guys tried? Have you tried it already?
Yeah, I like it.
You like rye whiskeys?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. This is a rye that won't smack you in the face.
It's good. Nice and
It's
smooth.
kind of a gentle, smoother rye. It's nice. It's got
Look at the color too. It almost looks like a Jameson. Very light. If you hold it up.
very light. Mm-hmm. It's got
It's very pretty.
I told you I didn't know for sure if I had tried this on a Thanksgiving weekend, but my brother-in-law, who loves to get different, but he doesn't like rye, so he wouldn't have got this. But this one, Hansberry, you've developed. I pick up vanilla on this.
Mm-hmm. Cucumber.
Really?
Cucumber.
Nothing crazy, but I did learn something since the last episode we did. You know that you can smell differently out of each side of your nostril.
Yes.
I never knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
And
so
did you know that you can do this, and then you got to remember the open mouth?
Yeah, remember the open mouth.
Remember the open mouth?
What's the open mouth?
You just sniff with your mouth open.
Well,
Sniff with
because
the mouth open, you get a little bit more of the
taste buds are involved with the smelling.
It's a whole different thing.
I lost my smell there a few months ago, so it's good to have it back.
Did you? Oh, did you have COVID?
I did, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
man, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was
Did you? Were you a breakthrough case, or did you actually have?
My
it
wife was a breakthrough. She got it from me and the baby. The baby got it from a mother-in-law as a teacher.
Wow.
Wow.
But, the baby's up in her face. I don't think the vaccine's really up against. We decided to sleep in different rooms. That was our big plan, but then spend 16 hours together. But yeah, I couldn't smell for 2 or 3 months, man. So I didn't miss it. I don't care about smell. I've decided. Taste, the problem. I lost taste, but smell.
So of all the senses, you get rid of smell.
Smell is useless. I'm changing diapers. I don't care.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't care about smell.
All right.
Seriously, as a
It's probably it's accurate.
proud Columbus Italian Club member, you don't want to.
Of all the senses, I mean, come
smell
on.
'em?
Sight, I'd rather have hearing. I'd certainly rather have taste.
Would you rather have hearing, or sight? If you had to choose between losing one,
I'm
Would you
going
rather-
sight.
You're gonna go. You'd rather be blind?
No, I'd rather have sight.
You rather have sight
for sure.
But smelling could save your life.
Smelling's overrated.
Gas.
Right, the gas smell.
It is. I mean, when's the last time you really used smell and it really mattered? Come
Right.
on.
How often do you really have a gas?
How
leak?
many times have you picked something up and gone? You smell it first before you even eat it.
That's
Never.
true.
Never?
I don't smell. I'm not a big smell guy.
What
I've
about
been married for
touch?
over 20 years. I don't do that anymore.
Well, I think pretty much everybody's got touch. Well, not everybody, but most people got touch.
What if you didn't have to? What if you didn't feel anything you touched?
Okay, yeah. I mean, touch is good. I would rather have touch than smell. Smell is last.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
This might be a record for going down a rabbit hole on whiskey business, ladies and gentlemen.
Forget smell.
Hansberry, a little bit of business before we actually kick into gear, because tonight we're going to talk about one of the worst debacles in baseball history, the 10-cent beer night at Cleveland Municipal Stadium on June the 4th of 1974. I don't know what they were thinking, but Alex Hastie will inform us on all of it this evening. But first, a little bit of business. We thanked Evergreen Podcast. Thank you so much for indulging us and letting us be part of your family.
That's right, evergreenpodcasts.com, where you can find Alex's podcast, as long as other sister and brethren podcasts of ours. Whiskeybusinesspod.com is our website, our landing page, as the kids say. You can find our archives, videos, writings from Dino, photographs, that kind of stuff. But we're also on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Thanks for subscribing and liking us. YouTube with Whiskey Business with Dino Tripodis. Click on the little bell icon right there and the like.
Is it right there?
Subscribe.
Where you're
It's one of these.
Is it
over
right
here.
there?
Maybe it's over here more. I don't know. I can't see this. I don't have a monitor, John. But you'll get notifications whenever we have a upload. And we do sometimes fun videos and stuff there. But otherwise, subscribe on your favorite podcasting app if you haven't already. Like and share with all your friends. And this will be a fun one to share. We just did our Halloween one, which is always one of our seasonal favorites. But this baseball one is bound to be.
This one's right in the wheelhouse.
A great
we
one.
are, in the playoffs with baseball and the World Series. still
Word
to
of mouth,
come.
pass it on.
Yeah, man, this is great.
Cheers,
And
thank
I'm
you.
sorry that the Cleveland Indians are not in the playoffs, but back in June of 1974, June 4th, I believe, to be specific.
Yeah, it's on my T-shirt. I'm wearing a Dime of Beer Night T-shirt here.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
June 4, 74.
June 4th, 74, a night to be remembered, or some people would probably like to forget about it. What happened at Cleveland Municipal Stadium is a night to remember, and Alex's last podcast of this particular season is about 10-cent beer night at Cleveland Municipal. Ohio v. the World is probably one of the best history podcasts out there. You do a great job, brother. You really do.
Yeah, we normally handle a more serious topic than this, but it's fun to talk about.
And yet you handled this one. Well, actually, you, as far as filling in all the middle parts, but on this one, as you say in the podcast, it's an oral history. You got a lot of great interviews and a lot of great people talking, which we'll talk about here as we move on this evening. But let's talk about, first of all, let's just set it up for everybody. What happened initially? What was the idea? What was the promotion? What was the thought process on June 4th of 1974 in Cleveland?
So you got to understand, the Cleveland Indians in 1974 are in the middle of a 40-year playoff drought. So, we all grew up with the movie Major League, which is just one of my favorite, not just movies, but sports movies. But that was about the time period around then that the Indians, that was an 80s movie, but the Indians are terrible, and they're drawing nothing. So the year before, they got this giant stadium. You ever go to Cleveland Municipal back in the day?
It would seat like 70,000, 80,000 people.
So
and they would
real quick. That was my first question. It's not the same stadium they have now. This is okay. Got it.
They had a stadium that they built in the late 20s, a giant stadium that they built in an attempt to get the 1932 Summer Olympics.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Which they were never really in the running for. Cleveland's the 5th biggest city in the country. It's like a Philadelphia or Houston back then.
But not. It went to Los Angeles.
It went to Los Angeles, and it would have gone a million other places before it went to Cleveland. So they have this giant stadium, and the Indians start playing in there. It's not a baseball stadium. It's a football, track and field, Olympic stadium. And you look at their attendance the year before, they drew 600,000 people. They got 70,000 people on opening day. We did the math on it. They're getting 5,000 or 6,000 people a night in the stadium.
That's not cutting it.
No, it's not. It's about half of what they need in attendance to break even. So we had an interview with the executive vice president's son who talked about how do you get to this point where you're so desperate for people that you have a 10-cent beer night where you just kind of just put it all on the line and they drew, and that game drew 25,000 fans, which on a Tuesday night in Cleveland was like
That's
it's
huge
4
for
times
now,
4 times the amount of people they normally get.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Prior to this game, there was some animosity between the Rangers prior to this, yes?
Yes. So the week before they played in Texas, huge brawl, and the Rangers fans poured beer on the Indians players as they came off the field. The Indians players tried to almost get into the stands and fight them. So a lot of animosity and a lot of build-up to this game of, hey, they can't treat our Indians that way. And the Rangers are bad, too. The Rangers are historically a very bad team. It's probably the 3rd year in Texas at that point.
Billy Martin.
Yeah, and Billy Martin's the manager. And so they asked Billy Martin, after the Brawl game, why aren't you worried about going back to Cleveland and facing some retaliation? And he said, well, they don't have enough people for us to be worried about. And then he used a little profanity. I could give a blank less about
throwing
that.
Down the gauntlet. So
and so the whole week there's all this build up to this game. The Rangers are coming back in town, and it happens to coincide. The first game back is also 10-cent beer night. So,
all right, and let me tell you, back in 1974, 10-cent beer night, a regular beer back then was 60 cents.
yeah.
Back in 74.
Yeah.
But still, in 1974, when this country was going through a terrible time, economically speaking, a 10-cent beer.
Yeah, 10 cents is about 50 cents today. So imagine it being a 50-cent beer night is about equivalent to
right? You would jump on that.
Yeah, it's very little.
If it was 50-cent beer night at for the Clippers,
Yeah.
be there.
We'd be there. We'd be
Because
there
even
in a
now,
heartbeat.
they'll have a $1 beer night at a bar, and it's just like shitty little Dixie cups.
Yeah. I mean, 50, like I said.
Still drink it, but
Yeah, sure. And it was Stroh's. So the beer that night was Stroh's.
Oh, I love it.
Now, I'm a little too young to remember Stroh's, but when I first started drinking, I had a few Stroh's.
I remember Stroh's.
They weren't great.
They were,
Is that a Milwaukee? I would say, I think it was a Milwaukee beer, I think.
Yes, it was.
Goebel and Stroh's. I'm not sure
Stroh's
which
was
is
better in the bottle than the can.
I've had Stroh's in a bottle, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this was Stroh's that was coming out of just beer trucks mostly that they had actually parked inside the stadium.
And it was 3.2 beer. It was low. It was low.
It was,
beer.
yeah. It was
low
3.2%, which is still, not much lower, but it's definitely lower than what's
Right.
Bud Light, about 4.5 probably. So yeah, it's a lighter beer.
But at 10 cents a beer.
10 cents a beer. And my favorite part of the promotion, first of all, other teams had these promotions. The Indians were not the first one. The Brewers had one. Texas, the Rangers had actually had one. With little to no incident. But Cleveland had never held one, and they didn't really change anything about the way they were going to do it. They kept, they kept the same amount of security, which if you were around back then, I mean, security was a lot different. So there's a handful of police. There's 50 security guards and 25,000 people. I'd say about 20,000 or so are there to just get hammered.
Yeah.
And they're not there for the baseball because the Indians, again, are very bad. They're there to let Billy Martin and the Rangers know that they won't let Cleveland be treated this way, and then things just spiral out of control pretty quickly.
Very quickly. I don't even know where to begin on this.
One thing I do love, is they did have one rule. I said they didn't really change things. You were only allowed to get 6 beers per visit. So
But you could go back.
sure, you could go back as many times as you want. But And I think 6 was just probably the number that they had in the little cup holders that you would
could
grab.
carry.
You don't want someone carrying more than 6. It's going to be a mess anyway. So they're like, well, how about 6? 6 per visit. No limit on the visits.
No limit on the visits whatsoever. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, and so one of the big problems that talking from so many people who were there was they noticed how young the crowd was. So it seemed, and obviously the drinking age I think was 19 then.
Especially
18
for 3-2 beer.
Yeah, for 3-2 beer. And so it was not just that, but their 14, 15, 16-year-old friends. You can go get 6. You're not going to drink 6 of them. So you can bring them back to your younger friends. And kids get drunker on 3-2 beer than other people. And everyone else talked about how the umpires, we have interviews with the umpires if you go listen to our episode. And the 2 living umpires that are on the episode. And they talk about the first thing they noticed when they got out there's this haze of smoke on the field. The whole stadium smelled like marijuana. So they realized right away, like, that's a little unusual. Not just smelled it, but like saw it.
There's clouds.
Yeah, it was a really hot, sticky, no wind kind of night. And it's just a cloud of marijuana on the field when they took the field about 10 minutes before first pitch.
Oh man. So let's talk about the year.
Yeah.
1974.
Not a good one.
Not a great year for this country. Watergate's going on. The economy is in the toilet. Gas crisis. Everything. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. So a 10-cent beer night would be a release valve for a lot of people to come out. And plus the fact that we had this animosity from the last game with the Rangers. Yeah. So the stars are aligning, so to speak.
It was a full moon as well. I mean,
full moon. Full moon to boot.
It's a full moon tonight as well, but it's a full moon.
It is a full moon tonight.
Yeah.
A very low-hanging moon tonight.
And so, 1974 is a bad Watergate, like you said. I mean, Nixon will resign 2 months after this game. He's going to be impeached a few weeks after this game. On TV every day is the hearings in the House, in the Senate about the impeachment. You got the gas crisis where there's no gas or there's very little gas or it's incredibly expensive gas. Patty Hearst is something I've been looking into recently. Patty Hearst is just been seen robbing the Hibernia Bank a couple days before this. And then all that, as bad as it is, nobody took it worse on the chin in the 70s than Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, Cleveland they lose 177,000 residents from 70 to 80.
It's an exodus.
Wow. It's a mass exodus. 25% of the population. 600 factories in Cuyahoga County closed, don't come back. There's something called stagflation going on, which is stagflation is when you have really high unemployment. It's when you have a drop in GDP or economic growth throughout the country and really high on inflation. It's like 3 things that we're kind of seeing merge a little bit right now. A stagflation situation.
I was thinking stag party, but that's that's way opposite.
The stag party would have been better
awesome.
Than stagflation. Yeah. So things are really bad, but they're always worse in Cleveland when something like this hits. And the city's looking at bankruptcy. The city council meets that spring to talk about what bankruptcy would look like. They're talking about closing down the theaters, getting rid of all kinds of things in Cleveland. And then this game kind of comes up, and you're right, it is a venting opportunity for people in the worst way.
They were talking about tearing down the entire
Playhouse Square.
Yeah, which right now is like one of the most successful theater districts in the country.
It looks great, and it's huge too.
It's huge.
It's not Broadway, but it's
but
big.
You know what? If Broadway had a second,
the
theater district in Cleveland would be one of them. I mean, Cleveland right now is great.
Yeah,
it's growing.
It's much better.
It's much better. I was
this is Cleveland at its lowest. Really,
I was a freshman in high school, and I got to be honest with you. Like I said, I was more a football fan than a baseball fan, but I remember talk about the 10-cent beer night because it definitely made the news the next day. I don't know which perspective to take this from initially. How did it all start to go awry?
Yeah, so they start the game. The people we talked to, just like we talked to one of the best interviews on there was Mike Shropshire, the beat reporter for the Rangers. He takes the train in from the airport to the game, and he said people are already getting loaded on. A guy offers him a drink of his Crown Royal bottle. Like I think he said he thought it looked more like they were coming back from a 10-cent beer night than going to one. And we got all these interviews from a good friend, Seth Mockerman, who's making a documentary about 10-cent beer night. Still hasn't been made. And maybe it will with this 50th anniversary coming up. But he gave us all these great interviews from the umpires, the announcers, Mike Hargrove, the former manager.
I was going to say, Mike Hargrove.
His interview was amazing.
Is a great interview in this particular podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a lot to say.
And he gets very involved, too. But the first inning, the first thing that everyone talks to, from the players to the announcers to the people who were there, a woman runs on the field, and she runs out, she kisses the umpire, the home plate umpire, and then flashes the crowd. And she's got very large breasts, and every person we talk to mentions, well, that woman ran on the field, the woman with the breasts ran on the field.
Boobs.
And it was like 50 years ago, so I mean, that must have been something pretty...
Was it Morgana?
It had to be Morgana.
It was not Morgana.
Not Morgana.
No, it was not Morgana. I've seen Morgana. This was just a Cleveland woman who ran on the field. She flashes the crowd, and the place goes nuts. So after that, it was kind of, well, this is how it's going to be.
We've opened the floodgates.
Yeah, she was the first one on the field, and she really got the crowd going.
She's an American hero.
Yeah.
She is. And so Hargrove talked about, like, one of the only people there's only 12 people arrested. When you hear about what happened at this game,
That's unbelievable to me.
shocking.
With the 25,000 people there and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about that happened as the game progressed.
12 people, and she was one of those 12, and they really manhandled her off the field, and that also made them angry. It also made the crowd angry of hey. And
so then a father and son kind of chime in, and
a father and son run on the field in the second inning and moon the crowd. They run out the second base, and they both moon the crowd. And again, after that, it was pretty much on. People are streaking.
Streaking was huge.
Streaking was big in the 70s. But we're talking 5, then 10 people in the third inning, 15 people streaking in the fourth inning, 20 people in the fourth. In the
Have
fifth
you ever
inning.
streaked?
I've streaked in high school. Yeah, I think I streaked in high school.
I streaked in college.
Yeah.
77.
Maybe it was college.
So college streaking was still kind of in that world.
I had lost some kind of drinking game and had to streak around the block or something.
Oh no, we did a herd, a group streaking. At Ohio State, freshman year, 1977. We decided we were going to streak, come around High Street to Lane Avenue, and go down Lane Avenue. At the time, there was I believe it's Buffalo Wings.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's a BW3 right now. At the time, it was a bar called the Thirsty Eye, and we did it on Thursday night. That was the biggest night for the Thirsty Eye. There were about 15, 16 of us that would streak collectively down Lane Avenue, and then we did it every Thursday for 4 Thursdays.
You had a streaking club.
Like a streaking club. It was like, okay, are they going to do it again? We did the second week. By the third week,
crowd had grown,
yeah, and so did campus security, and they were trying to, So by the third week, and then I can't remember the poor bastard who wiped out around the corner from High Street to Lane Ave, but he wiped out and fell and just had a fucking street burn down
Picking
his
pebbles out of his cock.
Oh yeah.
And that was it.
Ouch. Yeah.
I mean, 4 nights, that's a pretty good streaking club.
4 weeks.
4 weeks, right.
4 weeks.
Right.
It's a great streaking streak.
Yeah.
It's a good run.
It's a good
streaking streak.
It started with us streaking through the commons.
Okay.
Through the cafeteria. Yeah. And then not my proudest moment, but
no, but to your point, 70s streaking was a big deal.
was a huge thing, and there was a lot of streaking involved
bullshit.
over the course of this game.
But I'd say probably 1,000 streakers if they added everybody up, at least 500 people running across the field. And the problem is that they couldn't. The security was so lax and there were so few that they never caught any of them. They would just run around as long as they could, and eventually they'd just jump over the fence and they'd be gone. So like I said, 12 people were arrested. Maybe they got 2 or 3 streakers. Most of the people that were arrested when they got on the field for the big riot at the end of the game.
Right, which we'll get to here in a little bit because this continues to escalate as the night goes on.
This is great because I don't know a whole lot about this. This is awesome.
You weren't even born.
No. And I've known about it, and I started listening. I've listened to about half your podcast, and then part of me was like, I kind of want to wait till here. I don't want to spoil it. This is great.
It just slowly gets worse and worse. I mean, when we're talking about the middle innings, people are starting to get really drunk in the middle innings. The pitcher, is all-star pitcher for the Rangers, gets a comebacker. Ferguson Jenkins hits him right in the chest, and he's down for a few minutes. And the crowd's going nuts, and they're cheering his injury. which really, pisses off the Rangers. The other thing that happens is, like, a lot of guys talked about this, is how there's this beer truck out in right field, and you got to think about this. It's 25,000 guys drinking Strohs, and then there's women there, of course, but I would assume it's a more male-dominated crowd, and the bathroom lines are incredibly long.
Sure, 3-2 beer.
The beer lines are incredibly long, so it's really hard to get your beer, at least in this right field section. And there's a woman pouring beer, there's a woman taking the money, and there's just a table between them and the beer truck. And in the third or fourth inning, people are getting so upset about how long it's taking, they just picked the table up and just threw it over the beer truck. And those two employees just two young ladies, they just walked, probably scared for their life, just walk off. So now it's become like free beer night at Cleveland Municipal Stadium.
Wow.
And now people are just drinking out of the spouts, they're pouring up all their cups.
Drink it out of the spout.
And just, yeah.
It's like a kegger.
And it's like an oil truck full of beer that's out there in right field and left field. So that's what really escalates things in the stands. And people talk about right field and left field where the beer trucks were. That's where you started seeing this sporadic fighting, all the yelling, and just like things are getting really out of hand in the corners of the stadium by the foul poles, really, is where it's bad. And that's where the beer was mostly located.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's getting bad.
It's getting bad.
We're about the fifth or sixth inning.
Okay, so we're only about halfway through the game.
Okay, so it's the fifth or sixth inning, and the Rangers are up.
Yeah, the Rangers are up probably 5-1, I think.
5-1 at that point.
Yeah, they're up 3-0, 3-1. They go up 5-1. No one really cares about the game.
And yet, they kind of do because the Indians rally.
Yeah, they do. So they score 2 in the 7th. They score 2, and if we get to the 9th inning, they score 2 again. They actually tie the game and have the bases loaded with, I think, with 1 or 2 outs, and they're about to win the game at that point. And so I'm talking about all these people out in right field. The fence is really low out there, and you talk like the Hargrove interview. Things have been escalating all night with players and fans having contact. So at one point, and I remember a lot of the interviews talk about the fireworks, and if you hear the clips, there's all these bangs in the background, like loud explosions that you hear. And people are throwing fireworks on the field, in the stands, and they start throwing them at the players.
And the firecrackers in the bullpen.
Yeah, some M80s that they said into the bullpen.
Firecrackers and cherry bombs in the bullpen.
So the umpires clear the bullpen. So all the bullpen guys are in the dugout. They've got to just warm up on the mound if they're going to come in. And it's just really unsettling, like hearing those bangs all the time in the background. It really does sound like a little.
I would bet.
Yeah, a little bit of a war. So a lot of the families by the 6th, 7th inning start clearing out. It's said that some of the Indians executives start leaving in the 7th inning. Like, people can tell it's going to get really bad. And so in the 9th inning, finally, the Indians come back. They tie it. And to a fan, it's actually a guy named Terry. I can't remember his last name, but he still lives in Cleveland. He runs on the field to take the right fielder's hat. That's his drunken plan. He's Terry Gergich. He's 19 years old.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run out there and I'm going to take his hat.
So he would be a Rangers player, right?
It's a Rangers player. Yeah, it's the bottom of the ninth. So
go for it, dude.
It's Jeff Burrows.
Do it.
Jeff Burrows is the right fielder. He's actually ends up being the league MVP in 1974.
Joe Burrow.
Jeff Burrows.
Joe Burrow's great uncle.
Jeff Burrows. He would come back. I remember when I was a kid, he led Long Beach to the Little League World Series. His son was the star pitcher. But in 74, he's in right field. He's the league MVP. Terry Gergich, Yurkich, one of those Cleveland names.
Sure.
That's a real Cleveland. Yeah. Just they're all Slavic names up there. Runs on the field, grabs Burrows' hat, and then kind of trips over Burrows. And then Burrows kind of falls down. And so Billy Martin, who's in the dugout, it's a weird sloped field. So he's looking from the third base dugout out to right field, and he sees Burrows disappear. He saw a guy jump on the field, and then he sees Burrows disappear. And so he grabs his bat and leads the Rangers onto the field with their bats.
With their bats.
Like 20 of them.
There's a picture of that.
There's a great picture. Yeah,
crazy.
We talked with the photographer who took all those pictures on the field. He's on the episode. He's passed away now. But his interview's part of it, thanks to Seth and his documentary.
Oh, my God.
And so he gets that picture when they're running out there. he had run out on the field because someone had thrown a chair from the upper deck. These chairs at Municipal Stadium are really easy to just yank out.
Well, from what I understood, that's what the fans are doing. They were yanking chairs, they were snapping chairs, they were taking. I mean, it starts to get like Warriors come out and play, and it starts to go like that, right? It starts to get crazy.
It does. So someone threw a chair, landed right next to Paul Tepley, who's the guy in the episode, the photographer, and that's right when he ran on the field and took that great picture of the. There it is, of the Rangers.
In the video, John.
The Rangers running on the field with their bats. So they run after Burrows, and the fans start running out for whatever reason, by the hundreds coming into right field. And then you've got players, the Rangers, battling hundreds of drunken Cleveland fans.
You mentioned Mike Hargrove earlier. He talks about being pelted with hot dogs.
Yeah, he said,
and also an empty gallon jug of Thunderbird
wine.
Thunderbird.
Was it like a Mad Dog or something?
Thunderbird was one of those cheap Ripple wines that was right up there with Mad Dog. You either went with Mad Dog. I am a child of the 70s.
Yeah.
And I remember drinking Thunderbird.
I think that was in the fifth inning. He's at first base.
Boone's Farm, Andy Green Springs, all the same family. But Thunderbird was a special. You had to be like a.
It was I feel like it was lower class than Mad Dog.
No, actually, I think it was upper class.
Okay.
I think if you were a degenerate wino and you were drinking Thunderbird, at least like I'm a degenerate wino, but look what I got.
It's
a gallon jug of that.
Right. So he talks about that in the episode. Fifth inning, he's at first base, and obviously people have been pelting him with hot dogs and insults. But he felt something land next to his leg and kind of roll up to his back of his heel. And he looks down, it's an empty gallon jug of Thunderbird wine. And he's obviously Mike Hargrove's a tough dude. I mean, and he would show that, later on this evening. But he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to make a big deal out of it to, encourage these people, act like he's worried about it because then they'll do more stuff to him. He just kind of kicks it into foul territory because the game's going on, and he, we'll just get it after the game. And he's like, I made a huge mistake because whoever threw it then ran on the field and got it and climbed back into the stands before I even I turned around. The guy's running back. And he's like, I'm gonna end up having to. This guy's just gonna keep throwing this gallon jug. So he talks about how I just made a huge mistake. I should have stopped the game. It is a gallon glass jug that someone threw at me. I should have stopped the game and given it to somebody and gotten it off the field. And the guy throws it at him and then goes and gets it back.
Man, there was some crazy as the drunkenness continued. Correct me if I'm wrong. People were stealing bases.
So the bases didn't get stolen until the end. So that was kind of one of the last things that was done.
Now it's just
once the Burrows thing goes down, and now we're talking about hundreds of people in the stands. You can't play the game. I mean, it's a huge brawl, and Billy Martin's bat, is splintered. He's used it on people. They've got these parts of the stands, chains. I mean, the 70s were a crazy time. A lot of people had knives and chains on them back then.
It does sound like the Warriors now that you're talking about it.
It does, man. So, it sounded like when, it just continued to escalate and just continued to grow and just get uglier and uglier as the night went on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
by the ninth inning, it's just complete bedlam. And so the Indians then run on the field to defend the Rangers. And so now the Indians...
They're fighting for each other.
They're fighting for each other.
At this point...
Yeah, it's, so you got about 50 guys fighting against, 300 or 400 fans. And they finally get Burrows and everybody out of right field, and they get back to kind of the pitcher's mound area. And Hargrove talks about looking out, and he described it as Custer's last stand. He looks out, and there's 500 people, mostly young, long-haired, drunken white kids. And they're just moving slowly closer to him. And he said everybody stops. They get to the edge of the infield, and they all stopped. And one guy runs out of nowhere and takes a swing at Hargrove. And that's when things really broke. Hargrove just starts beating this kid up. And then everybody swarms him. And at that point, that's when you see, the fireworks, going off. That's when you see the bases getting stolen. There's a knife that's
bedlam ensues.
A chair lands on one of the Indians players' heads from the upper deck, and he splits his skull open.
Wow.
The umpires gets hit with a chair, and things. Obviously, my favorite part, and I didn't notice it till I got all these clips of it, is while this is going on, the organist is playing. He just, and not at the beginning, but he starts playing during it, like "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Just like, and there's a quote. Somebody talked to him, and he's like, I was just trying to restore order, and it's the organist. It's really the only.
This is my skill set.
I know
this is
3
all I got.
songs.
It's like the band on the Titanic.
But it does. It sounds. It's
They're
so
gonna keep playing
surreal and ridiculous
until the boat goes down.
And so they steal the bases, and if you ever get a chance to listen to the audio of the ninth inning, we play it in the episode.
Yeah.
But, he's like, well, the bases are gone. Oh, this is just terrible. And
Because the guy is still up in the booth calling
Let's
it.
talk about that guy for a second, Joe Tate.
Joe Tate, yeah.
Let's talk about Joe Tate.
I love Joe Tate.
Who was announcing the game and also almost got fired as a result of that game.
His description of it is very, he's telling it like it is.
Like it is.
This
right.
is a riot. This is disgusting. These people are animals. They need the National Guard. Where's the Cleveland police? And he actually, he almost gets fired the next day because everyone's saying, you disrespected the team and you made it sound worse than it was.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, he did not at all.
He told the truth.
Yeah, he told the truth. So the owner actually was out of town, came back, listened to Tate, gave him the ninth inning audio, and then the owner actually, instead of talking to the other executives who were embarrassed by this, they're trying to deflect the blame of it.
Sure.
And he just went, and the owner was actually a pretty cool guy, Nick Milletti. He went and talked to the ushers and some of the old timers around the stadium that he knew would tell him the truth because he'd known him for years. And they told him, Nick, this is as bad as it gets. It's the worst. It was a complete debacle. I saw this. And Milletti said, I'm not going to fire him. He just told the truth. And Joe Tate was a great interview, too. He didn't quite see the humor in it. He was the one guy who was like, this is awful.
Well, no, being a baseball guy.
Yeah.
They're pretty straight up.
He's old school.
Seeing the integrity of the game being diminished and brought to the level that it was that night, I imagine that had to be tragic for him.
And that's the word he used a lot. It was tragic. And so at that point, the umpires call the game. It's 5-5. The Indians are about to win.
I know, that's crazy.
Classic Cleveland style snatching, defeat from the jaws of victory. And they call the game, and that's it. And they fight their way off the field, and everybody.
It's a forfeit.
It's a forfeit, which in baseball is a 9-0 loss.
Right.
But the Rangers forfeited, right?
No. The umpires.
Cleveland?
The umpires gave it to the Rangers.
Yeah, the umpires forced Cleveland to forfeit.
To the Rangers, yeah.
Forced Cleveland to forfeit, and the
it
Rangers
goes in the
did
books
game.
as a 9-0 loss.
So,
That's funny baseball.
being how we are, especially these days, everybody looks at did the stats stay?
The stats counted. The stats counted.
counted.
Even though it was a 5-5 game, the stats counted.
The stats counted.
Even though it said it was a 9-0 Cleveland loss. Yeah. That was, in the bar that night, Jeff Burrows, the guy who they attacked, is like a cool California kid. Like I said, he's the MVP that year. And his biggest thing was everyone's talking about, well, this happened. They're all telling their war stories. And he asked the beat reporter, do the stats count? Because I went 0 for 4 and had 3 strikeouts, so I'm really hoping they don't count. And he's like, Jeff, I think they count. And
The stats count.
The stats count.
But Cleveland has a chance to win.
They would have won the game, yeah.
So who was that? As far as the umpires, was that one umpire that calls it?
It was Nestor Shylock who called the game. He was the chief, the crew chief there. He's in the Hall of Fame, like the most respected umpire. And he's the one who called the game. And then they announced it over the PA system. He got hit with a bunch of stuff, whether it was a bottle. I know his hand was really bloody from a chair. And then, he's talked about it. We talked to the umpires in this episode, and they said they've never seen him so upset to have to forfeit a game. The language he's using. When he's going down the tunnel, Shylock, at the end of the game, he uses his fist or his mask whatever to bust out every single light in the tunnel on the way down.
Wow.
And this is a guy who's, a really professional umpire.
So I would imagine. I mean, for an umpire to call a forfeit, that's like
You don't see it.
It's
yeah,
like a one in a million thing,
the last
right?
forfeit in baseball was in 1995. The last forfeit before that was probably there's the Disco Demolition Night in 1979.
yeah. Johnny and I were talking about that.
That was a double header. So the Disco Demolition happened in between the two games, and the field was just unusable because it had been destroyed and burnt.
So, in your opinion, what was worse, 10-cent beer night or Disco Demolition
Disco
night?
Demolition Night has more video, and it's
Just
kind of
because
like
it was
the
later?
end. It's kind of got this feeling of the end of the 70s. It gets a little more notoriety, but Dime a Beer Night, 10-cent beer night was way uglier. More people were certainly injured, I think, and it's a much worse event. Disco Demolition Night is kind of funny.
There was no TV that night either, was there?
There's really I don't know of any TV footage, very little, if maybe the news stations were there. It's all pictures and audio.
So, yeah,
I just Googled,
why would they? I mean,
It's a Tuesday night with the
Tuesday night, and the Indians are in the losing
Well,
season.
there's no cable back then.
Right?
1974.
1974. It's going to be local people.
Ball on the radio. No, I just Googled pictures, and there's about a dozen black and white, really cool photos of the night, and you can even buy prints. It'd be fun
they're
to
all
get
from
a
Paul
cool
Tepley.
print.
He was on our show.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: we're coming up on an anniversary, right?
Yeah, the 50th will be in 3 years.
In 3 years. So
2.5 years. Yeah.
So Cleveland obviously having improved through the years, and still without a World Series.
Yeah.
Biggest, since the Chicago Cubs, the biggest drought as far as a World
the
Series.
Cubs won theirs in Cleveland in 16.
Yeah, right. Yeah, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
For the Indians. So when this anniversary rolls around, is this something that they go? Yeah.
I don't think.
Or do they draw some attention to it? I guess my question is, could 10-cent beer a night happen again?
They can make a comeback. 50th anniversary.
I mean, the Indians.
happen again.
The Indians have some attendance issues of their own. They're one of the least attended teams in the league. They will shy away from this because it brings a black mark on the city. But I guarantee you that people will be talking about. They would be very smart to have a $1 beer night or something like that. And the crazy thing is, they had another dime of beer night in Cleveland 1 month later.
Right.
They tried it
6
again.
weeks later,
Right.
They tried it again. They sent people to all these other events where they had dime of beer night, and
But
they tried to do it again.
But being responsible,
They limited.
they limited the amount you could get on your first go.
It was just you got 2 beer.
you got
tickets.
2 beer,
Yeah.
but you could go back and get 2 more.
No, you could not.
You could not get
I don't
2
know
more?
exactly what the system was, but I think maybe they marked your hands or something. You could only get 2 beers that night for 10 cents.
For 10 cents.
And then everything else was full price.
All right.
Instead of getting 38 beers.
You mentioned in the podcast that there were some future notables that were actually in attendance that night. Tim Russert was there.
Oh yeah, Tim Russell. Yeah, he's an alum of my. I went to law school at Cleveland Marshall, and he's one of our distinguished alum.
Got great NBC News guy.
Yeah, Meet the Press host for many years.
God rest his soul.
He was there. He's a Buffalo guy originally. He grew up in Buffalo, big Bills fan, but he's in Cleveland for law school, and he went to the game and claimed, I think his quote is, "I had $2 in my pocket. You do the math." So it would have been, if I look back, I think it was the summer after his first year in law school. So he's probably working in Cleveland. But yeah, he said, "I had $2 in my pocket. You do the math." I mean, $2 at that thing, you could do some damage.
You could do so. Oh yeah, I mean that's where in 1974 where are you going to go spend $2 and get
I could catch a buzz
and
with
get
$2.
hammered?
Yeah.
Even on 3-2 beer.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's crazy. It's nuts. So yeah, with the anniversary coming up in a couple of years, 74. You know, okay.
It'd be cool, to see them embrace it or do something even.
Would you think they would?
Tongue in cheek.
Even
They
tongue in
gotta.
cheek.
I don't think they will. I really don't. I think they see it as a pretty
You mentioned
terrible
a
event.
black mark, but
It's been 50 years.
But sometimes you have to kind of embrace the bad as well
I
as
think
the good.
I think there's a way that they could make it really cool and make it funny.
Somebody in marketing who's brilliant enough could actually find a way to spin this.
Yeah.
and make it.
What I'm hoping is
Guardians.
these guys who gave me all this great material, Seth and John, I hope that they get a chance. And they're in talks now with the 50th anniversary coming up to make that. They
That's
never
what I
made
was
the
gonna
documentary.
say.
It's you need to get funding.
Right.
They made a sizzle. They did they went around the country and did interviews. But I'm hoping those guys get a chance to make that movie.
They do the 30 for 30s over. They're all awesome, but less notable events than this.
Sure, and they talked to ESPN before they tried to sell it to Sports Time Ohio, and they are in talks now. But with ESPN, it looked maybe more like a smaller thing, not a full feature film.
Sure,
but
sure.
Like a
they've
half
got
hour.
great.
Featurette or something.
Nobody knows more about it than those two guys, and I've become a real 10-cent beer night scholar for sure. But I really hope those guys get to make that movie because they're talented guys and they've got an idea.
Tell me about how they even came up with the idea for that documentary.
John Dolphin they were drinking one night at the Newport and
Here in Columbus?
Yeah, here in Columbus, and then Seth still lives here in Columbus. He does a lot of work with like A&E and the History Channel, and does a great job with what he's doing now. But it just kind of came up. They made a movie about Ted Ginn Sr., a documentary about Glenville High School in probably like 2006, 2007. And then John came up with this idea, and they really started researching it, and they thought, there's something here. Yeah, there's something here. And they just never got the funding to do it, and they didn't want to do it on the cheap. They wanted to do it right. And so maybe they'll still get that chance.
Before it's all said and done? Mm-hmm. So the police come in. I mean, as I was listening to your podcast, they had the minimal amount of security that they would have for a regular Cleveland
50
game.
security guards,
Yeah, all right.
And a handful of police, 5 or 6.
A handful of police, but not the amount of police.
It just wasn't the kind of security that we're used to now back in the 70s.
Joe Tate mentions that, the National Guard should come in here and
Joe Tate claims that his calling of the game, and he's not the only person that I've heard say this, that's the only reason the police knew to come in. That's what brought the police in. It's his calling of the ninth inning, saying, "Where's the Cleveland police? We need riot police down here to quell this riot." That's what got the police talking to each other. They listen to the game when they're driving around. The police came in and they did quell that riot quickly. Tear gas, billy clubs. They
took care of business.
And that was 1974, where
the police were a little more rough,
a little rougher, and
there's no Facebook videos of what happened.
Not a ton of consequences for that.
Yeah, not a lot of. They're there to take care of.
And somebody needed to do something, because you're talking thousands of people just running roughshod at that point.
Again, I marvel at the fact that 12 people were arrested for disorderly conduct.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe a couple of assaults there that they saw on the field. The problem was there was no police there until, probably 10 minutes after the game was called. So
nobody died.
Nobody died. And they say nobody went to the hospital, which you look at these pictures, there's some bloody players. Again, numbers in the 70s were not the same as they are now, Nobody went to the hospital.
The stats are sketchy.
Well, and we talked with the front office guy, and he said, there were no incidents outside the stadium. There were no reports of drunk driving in Cleveland that night. That's what he says. I'm like, yeah, but how do you? Come on.
1974.
Everyone was drunk driving in 1974. You just had to really screw up to get arrested.
Well, then again, I go back to where this country was in 1974.
It was rough.
It was rough. Cleveland especially. We mentioned the Exodus earlier. Watergate was going on. Unemployment was at a super
8-9%. Yeah,
super high rate.
Nom's winding down too.
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy time. So I would imagine that if baseball is the escapism that some people look towards, people look sometimes towards whatever they is to release their valve.
Sports, yeah.
Sports is one of them, and this particular night, given the game that preceded this game, a little bit.
It really was a full moon, perfect storm.
Yeah, perfect storm. And it's weird that tonight's a full moon too. That we're having this podcast. It's a podcast. First of all, it's the last of this season's podcast.
It's our season 6 finale.
Season 6. God bless, man.
Yeah.
6 seasons.
Yeah.
That means. Because we kind of started our podcast around the same time.
Almost, yeah. I think you maybe had 2 or 3 episodes out before we started.
Yeah. And then you started, so you're on season 6, so we must be in our 6th year as well.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, we should do what Hastie does. We should do like 10 podcasts. How many do you do a year?
I used to do 15. Now I do 12.
Now you do 12. We should do 12 and call it a year.
I get to take a break right now. I'm on break for the next 30 days.
Yeah, but to your credit,
I'll just be reading and researching.
Yeah, you'll be reading and researching in your downtime. You do a lot of research and prepare for the next season.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the best history podcast that one man can make by himself.
Which reminds me of one simple thing that we must do this evening.
That's right. Let's see here.
I haven't forgotten. I was just ready for the right moment. At this year's Columbus Podcast Awards, we were fortunate enough to win Best Comedy Podcast of the Year.
Congratulations.
Because we have a lot of laughs.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row,
right.
If you take the COVID year out of it.
Sure.
But when
3
they
years
announced
total.
Best Places and Travel Podcast, and they announced the nominees.
Mm-hmm. Distinguished list of nominees.
Yes. But the winner was Ohio v. The World. And yeah, right there. And the only reason I'm holding this and not you is because I went up on your behalf because I watched them struggle with the people that weren't there to accept awards.
Sure.
And I couldn't let my buddy Alex go down like that.
I'm glad. I'm sure you said, what did you say? Do you recall?
Yeah, I do recall exactly what I said. I said, Alex,
Lord.
I can tell you exactly what I said. I remember. I said, Alex Hastie is a dear friend of mine. I know that he would appreciate winning this award tonight because he does a lot of hard work, goes into each and every one of these podcasts, a ton of research. I said it's not something that is done easily or simply. So I think I can speak for him and say that he's very appreciative of this particular honor. So here it is. Best Places and Travel Podcast, Ohio
Places
Beat
and Travel,
World.
yeah.
Right there it is. So there you go, my friend.
Wow.
You get to take that home with you.
Wow, thank
Finally.
you guys. Thank you.
And
This is my second Columbus podcast.
Is it
award.
really?
Oh,
So
yeah.
did you win?
We won last time, yeah.
You won last time as
Again,
well?
the category is Best Places in Travel.
Yeah, I don't understand.
All right,
I don't understand why
Time travel, maybe?
I don't
Like
know.
it's history?
We got Best Comedy Podcast.
Yeah,
I know
you
we
guys
have,
aren't funny.
I know we. I know we have laughs on this podcast, but I don't know.
This is a comedy podcast.
It's not really a comedy
no, I
podcast.
wouldn't
Give me a
think so.
grin, Alex.
We have
Come
a
on.
we have a lot
There
of
it
laughs
is.
on this podcast, but we don't.
Well, this is very, and say what you will about the Columbus Podcast Awards, they make a great trophy.
They make
This
a
is a
beautiful
good-looking
trophy.
trophy.
Yeah, so I would like to try to support them as much as I can, and thanks for everyone for voting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We've got some overlapping fans, so I hope they probably voted
we
for
do.
both of us.
We do. And the fact that we're both on Evergreen right now,
Yes.
we will both make note of the fact. We will tell the powers that be that Evergreen that we have done this little crossover.
Crossover, that's the word you guys are looking
Crossover.
for.
These two award-winning podcasts have crossed their streams.
have crossed their streams and decided to join at the hip.
Yeah.
No, every podcast we've done with you has been fun, man.
Yeah, this
It
is
is
4,
awesome.
man. That's 4. This is a good
This is
one.
great.
This is good.
10-cent beer night
Yeah.
right there. There it is.
And
Yeah, you gotta promise every season to do like a liquor-fueled episode, so we can have you on. Just have an excuse to get you back on.
because I think the last one we did was the Prohibition
Remus.
one.
So Yeah, Remus.
Remus.
Prohibition,
Remus.
George Remus, who was the
And
the
Michigan.
first
Michigan.
bootlegger,
And
and
Michigan, we
then
did the
Ohio
Michigan,
versus
yeah.
Michigan, and the Battle of
The Battle of Ohio and
Yeah,
Michigan.
that
That was
was
a good
good.
one. They were all good.
All right, I'll keep the liquor one's coming. We'll figure it out. We'll do one liquor episode a year. We used to do one murder podcast a year. We kind of haven't been able to keep that up.
Yeah,
so
dude,
we'll
yeah,
do
liquor.
one alcohol fueled.
it doesn't matter, man. Whatever you do, we love having you on. So let's not go this long in between
I agree.
visits before it's all said and done. Congratulations on the award.
Thank you.
Neither one of us won Podcast of the Year.
Nope.
No, that's bullshit.
Who'd I go to? Who'd I go to?
I went to the Dadass podcast,
That's
I
right.
think.
Those guys seem like nice guys. Though.
They are very nice guys, and we're going to do a crossover episode with them.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, because
They do a lot of alcohol.
They
They're
they're
dads.
they're
probably.
dads.
As
They're
a
young
dad,
dads, and
yeah.
they're well, you're a young dad.
I'm a young dad.
Yeah.
So yeah. I've gotten into drinking maybe a little more since I become a dad. Yeah.
You gotta.
How's that going, by the way?
He's great. He's
How
just
old's
turned
your-
2.
how-
Will,
t-
2 years old.
wow.
Man, he's gonna be really smart.
Wow,
He's just a really
you think
smart-
so? How do you know that?
I'm having full blown conversations with him.
Well, with him, really?
Yeah.
Now, does the smarts come after? Are they attributed to you or his mother?
I would say both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm looking at him and comparing him to other kids his age. Mm-hmm.
Is he funny? Is he? Can
He's
you tell-
funny. Oh, yeah,
See,
he's
we
real
just
funny. He's real
saw
funny.
the thing that funny kids grow up to be smart.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things he thinks are funny. When
Well, he's 2.
calling something that he knows is blue and saying it's red. I don't.
Take some.
He
yeah,
thinks
you
that's
know.
funny.
He thinks that's funny. I'll throw a few fake laughs.
That's a
out
simple
there.
joke. Very
It's, yeah,
simple.
it's
You gotta start somewhere.
Give him a
Jesus.
courtesy
Yeah.
laugh.
I'll give him
Give
a
him a courtesy laugh.
No,
Start with the,
he's great, man, and he is funny. So he comes from a funny family. We'll see. His wife's real, or my wife's real
His wife-
funny.
his wife.
His wife.
His wife.
He treats her like he's his wife.
More boob, honey. Oh, I guess he's 2. That's
No,
over that.
he's still rocking it too. He's still.
Are you gonna have more?
All right.
We'd like to have more. Yeah.
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 You hoping for another son or a daughter?
Oh, I don't care. I'd like
You
to
don't
have
care?
a daughter. My family's it's all Hastie boys. My brother, has 2 boys. So I'd like to have a girl. But just having one healthy kid, man, it's
that's a beautiful thing.
It's
but
incredible.
be careful what you wish for, because a daughter becomes something very, very unique and special. Ask Hansberry. I love his daughter.
Yeah.
Because I have a daughter, so
She's more mature than all of us already
Yeah,
at
I
6
mean-
and a half.
daughters fill your heart and they break your heart
Yeah.
at the same time.
I like I said, if I just have one, I'm happy. If I have 3, I'm probably not happy. But if I had 2, I ran into Cassone, our friend Cassone, who just wanted to have a second child and then had triplets.
Oh,
my
shit.
God.
He,
poor guy.
and our friend Mike Cassone had 5 under 5.
Yeah, 5 and under 5 years. Yeah, they wanted to have a third child, and then they had triplets. That's what it
triplets.
was.
That's what it was.
And they're thriving. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
they're great.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, right.
We'll let Cassone know we mentioned him on the show.
Yeah, well, so that's what'll make him listen.
When 2 becomes 5.
Yeah, that's what'll make. We mentioned you in the podcast. Oh, I'll listen. Yeah, you won't listen to that. The fact that it was a great fucking podcast, but you listen to the
At the
fact
end
that
of
we
every
mentioned your
episode,
name.
we should just like rattle off a list of people's names that we know and be like, "Oh, hey,
They should
we mentioned you on the show.
You should listen.
Yeah. Everything else good, man. I mean, we've talked in between.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
gonna
it's
wait
great
for
to have you back on the radio. You know, I think
Thank
that's
you,
really
man.
cool.
It's nice. It's nice
so
to
I'm
be
able
back.
to hear that when I go into the office and
It's
go
nice
into
to
court.
be back at work in Hansberry on a daily basis as
Yeah,
opposed
that's
to a
gotta be
weekly
so
basis.
nice. That's gonna be so nice. Morning Hansberry too.
Yeah,
cheerful, not grumpy Hansberry.
No.
Yeah, fun.
I tease the hell out of them on a regular basis,
Sure.
but actually, it's actually pretty cool.
This
to
is
be back with them
this
on
is
a-
honestly the most fun I've ever had. In my career. I mean, we're doomed. Like, there's no hope in the world. We're having a lot of fun.
We're gonna go out with a bang.
The one thing about your guys' show is you have to hear. I'm able to avoid the news over the last few years. You guys have to hear the news every single day, and it's just got to beat you like a hammer.
Yeah, but Clark does I don't want to say light news because he's in his heart of hearts.
He's a newsman.
He's a news guy.
Yeah.
But he's adjusted and he mixes it up with some fun stuff.
Okay, good.
as well, and we get to
we don't
comment
dwell
while he's
on,
doing the news.
Sure.
So if we
Yeah.
take exception to
Gangs.
anything, we rattle his hardcore Walter Cronkite news cage, and you're commenting on what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do
Wall
that.
to wall Haitian gangs.
Yeah, we had that today. But no, man, I'm thrilled to be back doing that.
It's really cool.
Actually, I'm surprised at how happy I am to be back doing that.
There was a time where you definitely didn't want to do that.
No, there was a time where I was done, and maybe after like anything, especially during the pandemic, you took on whether you wanted it or not, you took a break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there were
Things slowed down. Certainly.
Things slowed down, and that gives you a chance to adjust and your thinking and where you're at. So when the opportunity came up to go back, and they said, "You want to come back?" I went, "Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
I think I do." And I do, like I said, I tease the hell out of them.
No.
But
I mean, you guys, and with her too, you guys just make a great team.
Stacy.
So,
Yeah.
I always say, we say it every time, our working relationship is we bust each other's balls because we like each other. As soon as we,
as soon as I stop busting your balls,
stop busting your balls, that's when you got a problem.
As soon as I stop busting your balls,
Yeah. If you didn't make fun of me when I saw you, I would be like,
Yeah.
"Ew,
what did I
something."
do? Yeah.
and you and I bust each other's balls on a regular
Sure,
basis.
that's the only
But
way I know.
But I mean this sincerely when I say it's thrilled to have you back on this podcast.
It's great to be here, man. You know I love
I
it.
still look forward to somehow. You said a long time ago, because I have a stupid memory. When you first started this podcast, you wanted to have me on your podcast to do something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like I would come in, you would have a topic that I would know nothing about. It was something along those lines.
I do vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
I remember thinking about wanting you to come on and talk about Dean Martin since you're from Steubenville.
Right.
We were gonna do a Dean Martin and Jimmy the Greek double feature.
Yes. Make that happen in season 7.
All right. Well, I'm not gonna rule it out, or we'll find some Steubenville history.
Find some. There's a lot of history there.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy the Greek, Dean Martin, William Frawley,
Who's William Frawley?
Fred Mertz, and I Love Lucy.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Edwin Stanton, the Secretary of War in the Civil War. Remember him? He's from Steubenville.
Wild Cherry, play that funky music. White Boy, Steubenville, Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah.
This might be a better conversation for off the air. though.
Tracy Lords.
That's right.
Tracy Lords has got that. That's a famous legal case right there.
Yeah. Steubenville, Ohio.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow. We could just do a whole Steubenville episode where you just. We'll figure it out.
Plant some seeds.
Yeah,
I think we
Rivertown.
pretty much covered everything right now. I don't know how much depth there more
I'm planting some seeds. The history of Steubenville, little Chicago back in the 40s and 50s. Very, very big. It was on the river, as we talked about the George Remus podcast,
Yeah.
about how the river was an important. Steubenville was little Chicago back in the day.
It was kind of the midpoint between Chicago and New York, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Do your research.
All right, I'll learn more about Steubenville.
You find out a lot about more
Tracy
Steubenville.
Lords. I mean, you piqued my interest.
A little bit.
Don't Google her at work.
Yeah, that's yeah.
All right. The
Don't
most
do that.
important thing I want to convay on this particular podcast is if you've not listened to Ohio v. the World and the last episode of this particular season, 10-cent beers. What's it called exactly?
It's called 10-cent beer night in oral history. I think we call everything Ohio versus. So it's Ohio
Right,
versus,
Ohio v. the
versus
World.
beer.
Yeah.
is the name of it.
Ohio versus beer.
Ohio versus beer. Yeah. But yeah, 10-cent beer night in oral history. The Evergreen people want us to have a little more
I know.
coherent title.
They want us.
What do you mean more coherent? So I was like,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe tell them what the episode's
What's
about.
the episode about? Right.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So that people want to actually listen if they know what the hell's going on.
Actually, they're pretty smart over there. They have an entire podcast network. We should probably listen to them.
Yeah, they have some good points.
Yeah.
We know better, damn it.
No, we really don't. Our guest has been Alex Hastie from the podcast Ohio v. the World. Available everywhere you get your favorite podcast, but also at evergreen.com.
That's right.
The podcast network that we are very proud to be a part of. Anything else you want to add, Hans?
Yeah, at evergreenpodcast.com. While you're there, check out all of our other brethren and sistren.
Brothers and sisters. Just say
Brethren and sistren.
Todd Jones is on there, right?
Huh?
Yeah.
Todd Jones.
Another Ohio sports
Another guy.
podcast.
Yeah, he is a great podcast.
Yeah, he does.
Speaking of sports.
While you're there, subscribe to Ohio v. the World and Whiskey Business, and rate and subscribe and review to to both of us. Share with all your whiskey loving friends and your sports loving friends and your Ohio loving friends, all your podcast enthusiasts. YouTube Whiskey Business with DinoTrapotis.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Peacock. We're on Peacock.
When I was listening to your podcast, it's I know Alex Hastie, the guy,
Sure, yeah.
and when I listen to Alex Hastie, the podcaster, two different guys.
You think so?
A little bit.
Yeah,
A little bit.
Maybe a little more. Seems a little smarter. The podcast version.
No, I know you're smart. You're not smart. You're fucking brilliant.
But what's the difference between them?
I listened to both of them, and
Which one do you like more?
I like this guy.
Okay.
I like this guy more.
Okay, yeah, me too. I like.
But the podcast guy's good. But your podcast is very structured, very organized.
I do a big outline for every episode.
You do, and this one is fucking seat of our pants.
Yeah, there's no real script here.
There's no script. There's no script at all.
Produce an audio documentary.
Yeah, there's
I
no
checked with you guys a minute before. We're doing a 10-cent beer night thing tonight. You're like, yeah. Like,
We'll get it from there.
Don't worry about it. We'll cover it. We got it. We got a couple of notes before it's all...
Bring the mics. The mics in here.
Well, I remember one time when we did the George Remus podcast, you actually you did some research.
oh yeah. You always have it down.
Yeah,
I always doubt you. So for my fourth time here, and I'm always like, I hope Dino's prepared for this, and then I'm the one who always is like kind of scrambling.
No, it's great.
This notebook. We can get this notebook onto you.
This is the second notebook.
That's the first thing that the authorities are going to want to grab when they come in here.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is the second notebook. The first one, it's
Exhibit A.
Yeah, it'll be at the top of the search warrant.
Yeah, this one started with our mutual friend Billy Demora.
Oh wow! When we
Yeah.
saw 113.
Yeah, that was beginning of the year. Nostra Demora.
Oh man, that's probably right after the Buckeye loss too. He's probably,
Predictions from
No, that was,
that was when he was predicting what would happen with the Buckeyes. Yeah. Which I was on a road trip with Billy Demora
too.
to select our barrel for the Columbus Italian Club,
Oh nice, yeah.
the old Forester barrel.
Forrester, yeah.
You should be thankful that I was there on that trip.
I'm always thankful for you, Dino.
No, seriously, I picked a nice barrel. Well, we picked a nice barrel, but truth be told, yeah, I was.
Again, maybe off the air type of talk there.
No, I don't care. No. We picked a good barrel for the Columbus Italian Club.
Old Forester.
Yeah, do you like Old Forester?
I do.
You'll like this. It's a single barrel selection.
Maybe we had Old Forester on one of the old.
We may have. On the Remus podcast, I think we actually had George Remus.
yeah.
We had Remus.
Hey, I'm probably going to cut this out of the podcast, but
Sure.
if you're watching, this is a good tip. I went up to the new Carfagna's in Columbus, Ohio, Italian joint.
The market?
Yeah, John was
Yummy.
telling me about it. They got a nice little liquor store there.
Yeah, they got it.
Really?
It's great.
Yeah, really nice.
A bunch of wine. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but a bunch of wine.
Is it in Polaris now?
Yeah, it's right by Costco.
Yeah, it's off.
Huge place.
But they had
I saw pictures.
They
of
had
the place.
a 10-year widow Jane. They had a bunch of great stuff. So they had the old Fort or old Overholt 114, which I know isn't too hard to find, but it's still
but
good.
it's
The good stuff.
It's fresh.
It's great to have a real Italian grocer still here. You know?
Yeah,
Their food is
I just
awesome.
I haven't been yet, but I hope they've managed to maintain some of the charm of
They
the
did.
old Kerr
It was
Farmers
awesome.
on 161.
I know. Yeah, John went and he told me to check it out. And
The
we went.
prices were similar. They
They still have
weren't
the same.
big.
They still have the restaurant up there too. On
Yes.
Polaris?
They got
Yes,
that
yes.
going on.
I
as
go
In the
well.
there
same
once or
building.
twice a
In
year.
the same building.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's all connected.
Okay.
Maybe they'll be a sponsor.
We should do a podcast
Whatever
there.
the
They got a
case might be.
tasting.
They do have a
inside
tasting
it.
room right there.
In the
Also, thank
liquor
you
store.
to John Whitney for bringing the
Yeah,
Widow
thanks, Johnny.
Jane.
Ooh, I like the Widow
Yeah,
Jane.
the American
It's good
Oak
stuff.
Aged. Thank you, Johnny. That
No
was very
problem,
kind of
man.
you
That
to-
bottle's
to
on its last
contribute.
legs there.
Yeah,
Might as well finish it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Might as
Not,
well,
not an unusual
might as well
occurrence
finish it
on-
off. You know.
on whiskey. We'll finish that when we
Use that or
say
Old Bardstown.
Our
I was gonna
official
bring Old
goodbyes. Whiskey Business is a Never the Luck production, which would not be produced without the considerable skills of our audio producer Greg Hansberry
Thank you.
and our video producer John Whitney. There's the thumb. And I'm only as good as our guests, and our guests have been a great one tonight. Alex Hastie from Ohio, V the World. Thank you, brother, man.
Thank you. It's great to be on.
It's great to see you again, and great to hang out and talk about stuff that we both love. And thank you for being a friend. And let's see each other sooner than later.
All right, buddy.
Until the next bottle. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get in on that. See ya.
That's new. We never tried the toast at the end.